Hi, in this video I'm going to take you through how to create your first Promo Planner database. Now, up to now you've probably been playing with our demonstration model, and that's exactly what I have loaded here. The demonstration data you can see at the bottom here, the PP4 demo model with the data loaded. Now, what does it allow you to do? Well, this demo data will allow you to view all the information in it. It will allow you to play with all the various features. It will allow you to do some planning, and it will allow you to run all the reports that you'll find in the Share Insights option. But one thing it won't let you do is change the structure of the database. You won't be able to add or change any products or customers or teams. And you won't be able to change any of the data that is inside this database. So to be able to do any of those things, you will need to have a valid license, and you can check your valid license status up here using the license button. Now, for this video and for the remainder of the videos in this series, I'm going to assume that you do have a valid license installed, and therefore you will have the option to be able to create your own databases with your own products, customers, teams, etc. and of course load all of your own data. So let's get on with it. Now, this is the demonstration database. You can see the information is here telling me exactly that, and in this database I already have a set of products, a set of customers, a set of teams, and I have all the data loaded. There's an example, there's a sales forecast. Now, this is of course demonstration data. I don't want any of this. I want to be able to set up a database that reflects my environment. So how do I go about doing that? Well, the easiest way to do that is to make sure that you're at the home screen. I can do that there. Go to the Files button, and we're going to create a brand new database. So I'm going to click my button here that's called New File, and it gives me the option to give it a name. So I'm going to call it First Database. There we go. It's going to add the .mdex extension onto it automatically. I don't need to worry about that, and I'm just going to click Create. And it's done it as simple and as quickly as that. And as you can see, at the moment, this is called Project 2019, and here is my database name and location. Promo Planner database, first database.mdex. There we are. So I have a brand new database. Now, if I look at this and I go into my Prepare Data, the first thing that's going to happen is I'm going to come to this basic settings screen. Now, there's a lot of settings here, and I'm not going to go through them all because they're going to be covered in other databases, but there's a couple of things that you can do straight away here. And the first thing that you can do is change this project name. So I'm going to call this First Database. That's nice and simple. I'm also going to set the typical annual call frequency for the market that is represented in this first database. Now, I'm going to imagine that this is a kind of mid-European market, so I'm going to stay at the 6 to 16 calls per customer per year as a kind of typical annual call frequency from my sales teams. I've got other options here. If I click, there are other options, but I'm going to stay with this 6 to 16. Now, a couple of other things I'm going to change. I'm going to change the currency symbol. I'm going to change that to GBP. I'm speaking to you from the UK, so I'm going to do that. And the other thing I'm going to check is to find out or remind myself which is the first year that I want to optimize. Now, I'm going to leave it at 2019. I can obviously change this and go up and down, but I'm going to leave it as the first year to be optimized as 2019. Now, all the other settings, I'm going to leave them exactly as they are. And to continue, I'm going to click on the Data button. So here we are. Clicked on the Data button. I have my project setup menu, and right now I have just entered the basic settings and set those. But the next thing we want to do, and the thing that you will probably most likely want to do next, is to set up the products that are relevant for your portfolio for this model. So that's the next thing to do, and I can click on Product Setup. Now, you'll get a message here that says no data has been entered yet. Of course it hasn't. This is a brand new database. Now, I have a choice at this point. I can of course use all the data collection templates which are covered in other videos, and if I use those data collection templates I can auto import them. You'll have noticed there's an option to auto import the data collection templates, and if I do that, it not only will load the data, but it will set up the database for me. It will add into this database all the products, all the customers, all the teams, and anything else that's required to reflect the scope of your project. But if I want to do that manually, I can, and I do that here by using the project setup button, and we'll do the product setup first. So there we are, no data entered yet, nothing here. What do I do? Well, you'll notice there's a little plus at the bottom, and let's use that plus to add a member of this product dimension. So here goes, here's the plus. How many rows do I want to add? Well, I'll just start with the 1 for the moment. We're going to add a single product, so I'm just going to accept the 1 and click add, and there I have a product row. So what am I going to do? Well, I'm going to change the name of this straight away, and I'm going to call it PayNext. Why not? Okay, and then I'm going to tell it what kind of therapy this is. Now I have a few options here, but in my example this is going to be a chronic product. There we go. And I'm going to ask it, the tool is asking me what kind of competitive pressure do we have. Well, it's very intense in my case, so I'm going to pick that for this product. And it's asking me now what kind of pharmacy substitution environment does PayNext find itself in this market. And I have several options here, and I'm going to say, well, yes, actually, very often a retail pharmacy might substitute this brand, unfortunately, so I'm going to have to click that option to reflect that case for my environment. So there I have done it. Now the last thing here is an avatar. Now an avatar, you know what an avatar is. It's a little picture, and I can set these pictures relevant to my product. So if you have contacted MDEX and you have given us a list of the products that you are likely to use with the Promo Planner, we can create these avatars for you. Contact us via our website and we'll create the images absolutely relevant for your specific products. But right now in this demonstration version, I have a set of avatars, and if I click on that button, here they all are, and I can associate any one of these images with that PayNext product. So I'm going to select this one here, and there we have it. Now what does that do? Well, it just means that on all the reporting and all the screens that we're going to see later on in this tool, every time we see the PayNext product, it will be associated with that little picture, and it just makes it easy to find and easier to see on the screen. So that's what it is. So what have we done? We've added a simple single product to our portfolio. Now that's very, very easy. What if I wanted to add a lot more? Well, of course I can do that. So I'm going to add, in this, for my example, another 28 products. Here we go. And there we are, 28 rows already created for me. Now, I'm not going to go through and type all of these things in. What I'm going to do instead is select the information from this table that I've already created. Now, PayNext is already there, so I'm not going to start at the top. I'm going to start one down, and I'm going to cut all of those out. I'm going to go back to my Promo Planner database. I'm going to click on this button, and I'm going to do, well, in my case, Control V, and look, there they all are. It's posted them all in for me. Now I can use these buttons up here. I've got some inbuilt Promo Planner cut and paste buttons, but I've used the Control C and the Control V because that's what I'm used to doing. So here we have it. I have now 29 in fact, products all loaded, each with all of their bits of information, and if I want to, I can of course now go through and associate an avatar with each one of these so that I'll be able to identify them much more easily on the screen. There we are. I've done the first few for you. So that's the product setup. Well, what about the other dimensions? Well, let's go home. There we go. And let's have a look at that. I can go into my prepare data, back up to the data button, and I can start looking at my customer specialties. So here we go. This is exactly the same process. There's no data entered yet. I'm going to add in 1 just to show you how it works. So I'll accept the 1 and press add, and I'm going to add my GP specialty. How many of them are there? Well, there are 47,894 in my market. What kind of a customer are they? Well, it's certainly not a specialist. They are GPs. That's my GP list, so I'm going to click on that. Now, how concentrated are they? Is it a very concentrated market? Is it not very concentrated? That's the kind of question we're being asked here. Now, in my case, I'm going to set this up as being an average concentration. And it's also now asking me about my ability to target them. How much information do I know about these GPs? Is this going to be an audience population that I'll be able to target well, or is it not? Well, I would say we have reasonable amount of information to be able to target the GP, so I'm going to say it's kind of medium. Okay, and then, just as we had with the products, I can go into the avatar section and I can click an avatar to represent my GPs. Now these are in alphabetical order, so I should be able to find my GP. There it is, GP primary care. In fact, I've got a couple of examples here. I'll go with that one there, and I now have an avatar for my GP. So as you can see, same process as the products, very, very similar, and I can go on and I can press the plus button and I can add in as many as I like, either one by adding 1, or by changing the number and cutting and pasting a whole load in altogether. So there would be my customer specialties being added. So what does that leave us? Well, it leaves us with some teams. So if we're doing an operational plan where the customers have been added, then we'll probably need, or definitely need, to add our teams too. So how do we do that? Well, again, it's exactly the same process. Here we are. We're going to add a team. I'm going to add it now. Team 1. Let's call it my GP team. Why not? And this team is going to. Let me put a capital P there. Oh, that's much better. GP team. And now it's going to ask me a little bit about the productivity of this team. So it's going to ask me how many days in the field do they work in an average year. Now, for my market, they do about 172 days actually detailing customers. The rest are weekends and holidays and training days and all the other things that they might be doing. So we're not going to put 365 in there. But out of a typical year, they're probably going to be somewhere around 172 days in the field in my example. And how many calls do they make a day? Well, let's say they make around 5 calls per day on average. And now I'm going to have to add in some information about what their fully loaded cost per year is. Now, if you followed the data collection videos, have a look at the one all about fully loaded rep costs, and it'll give you all the information you need to work this number out. So in my case, this number is going to be 118,816 GB pounds. There we go. So now it's going to ask me a little bit about the team size. Now, right now, remember we said right at the beginning that we were going to optimize 2019. So this is asking me for the team size in the year before that, which is 2018. So it's asking me how many people were in this team. So I'm going to say there are 51 people in this team. And it's asking me what my new size for this team is going to be. Well, right now I don't really know what that's going to be. I don't know if I'm going to need more or less. That's going to be the whole point of my planning process. So I'm going to assume, at least for the time being, that we'll start with the same size of 51 and see how it goes. We'll see if we need to make that bigger or smaller as we progress with our plan. So the last thing to do is to put an avatar on it if we wish to do so. And I'll put this one on, why not? There we go. So here we have an avatar for our GP team, and of course I can go on using my plus button and add all the other GPs that are, all the other customer specialties that I might need for my particular environment. So that's it. What I've done is I've set up my products, I've set up my customers, and I've set up my teams. And that's all I need to do for the beginning of this exercise to really start planning. If I need to go into all the tactical information, then I can carry on and I can go on and add all the other operational channels that I might need. In fact, let's do that now. Let's go in and do that, and we'll see it's exactly the same kind of process. I can add them all in here. So now I've added some products, some customer specialties, some teams. Best thing to do now is to make sure it's all saved away, and the way to do that is to go to the home button. As you can see, the save safe is now open, indicating that there is data that needs to be saved, so I can click that save button and there you go, that's it, done. So all those things are saved, and just to check, I can look at my prepared data, I can go and look at my project setup, and I can see, yep, my products are there. The GP customer specialty I set up is there, and the GP team I set up is all there. So that's great. So that's setting up the structure, but there's no data there yet. So how do I go about that? Well, I go back to my data and I start adding it. And the easiest way to do that is to start with the most basic of the data, the strategic data, and there's the option to do that. So I can click on it, and here is the list of strategic data that I need to load. So let's start with the sales forecast. And there I have my table. Here is my optimization year and my year of history. So as I've asked this database to start in 2019, it's automatically given me my history year in my time dimension. So that's all done for you. And I have a sales forecast table. Everything is set to 0, and it's my job now to type in the data, and I can do that very simply. I can start typing the data into the cells. I can just click on them and type the data. Of course, it's unlikely that you'll do that. We're hoping very much that you'll use our data collection templates, and all the data that you add into that will automatically load it and be verified and checked and tested whilst it's doing it. But if you have done that and data is in the database and you realize that one number is wrong, this number here should not be 300, this number should be 400 instead, then this is what you would do. You would come in to the strategic data area, you go to the data item that is incorrect, in this case it's the sales forecast, you'll find the missing number and you'll correct it. There we go. So if you ever need to make any changes to your data, this is exactly how you do it. So there's the sales forecast, and here are all the others. The cost of goods, the initial FTEs, all of those items are there for you to enter into. And of course, if you go on to do more operational plans or tactical plans, we have a tab here that shows you all the tables for the operational data and the tables for the technical data too. So that's it. That's the process by which you can create a new database, set it up with your scope, your products and customers and teams, etc., and then add the data or amend the data if you need to do that. And there we go. Thank you very much.